Hey guys, Dr. Alex here. It's been a while since I've done a video. I'm happy to be back, and the reason I'm back is I've been getting a lot of questions in the office, especially related to working from home, and the goal with this video is to help answer those questions because I'm sure you've probably been having them. So, question number one we're going to try to answer today: how the heck do I go about buying a chair for my new home office setup, my new normal? And then we're going to talk about, when we get a chair, how much money you typically need to spend to get a good chair, and whether a $200 Ikea chair like I have, the Longfujol, or a $1,400 Herman Miller Aeron, or Aeron, doesn't matter. We're going to talk about the differences between those two, and maybe which one you need. And then I think most importantly, we're going to talk about the principles, 3 of them, that you need to follow while working from home that might make those 2 chairs the same value and might make all of the difference in you working from home to minimize the effect that it has on your spine, your nervous system, and your health, and so that you can work as productive as you can and be happy at the end of your day. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so this is my $200 Ikea Longfujol chair. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry to the Swedes potentially watching this. That I bought back in June. I want to talk about my buying decision. I want to talk about why I bought this chair. And I want to talk about what chair maybe you should get. But I think probably the first thing we should talk about is the 3 most important principles that everyone needs to remember when they're working from home, whether they have a $6,000 amazing chair, if that even exists, or they have just a really simple kitchen chair, and how if you follow these 3 principles, it might not make a difference between what chair you have or you don't have. So, 3 principles that we need to remember when we are sitting and working are going to be focused on reducing the amount of repetitive strain on the body. So repetitive strain is what creates injuries, what creates pain, it's what creates problems. And when you think about repetitive strain, what I want you to think about is if you sit at home and work, you have the opposite job of somebody that works in a manufacturing plant, like say the GM line over in Oshawa. Every day, motion, over and over again. Dynamic repetitive strain, the same tissues, nerves, muscles, joints getting used over and over again. Sitting is the opposite problem. It is static repetitive strain. It is all day, every day, potentially. Static repetitive strain is going to strain the same tissues over and over and over again. And we know with more strain, more chance of injury, more chance of problems, more chance of pain. So what we need to do, 3 things to interrupt that repetitive strain, is as follows. Principle number 1, you got to move every 20 to 30 minutes. That is the gold standard. Change your working position, do a big stretch, do some of the stretches for the neck that we've talked about on the channel before. Do anything. You just have to move or change positions every 20 or 30 minutes. That is going to interrupt that static repetitive strain. It could be a trip around the apartment, it could be a walk, it could be going to the bathroom. Doesn't matter. Just change positions, move, stretch, do whatever, or you can even just change positions in which you're working. Principle number 1, that's going to take care of a lot of problems. Principle number 2, very important. Principle number 2, which is also going to guide us in when we buy a chair, is principle number 2 is the chair has to do its job. And its job is to hold you up so that your muscles are soft. So often I see people in the office and they tell me, ooh, they sit like this with their excellent posture. And I go, okay, think about this. You got a sledgehammer in your hands and you hold it forward all day for 7 hours. What are you going to notice? Tightness, and eventually pain in these muscles from the static repetitive strain. Same thing happens if you're sitting like this all day with good posture. These muscles through your spine are holding up anywhere from 50 to 200 pounds. They're going to get tired, strained, sore, create problems in your spine, and you can see why you can have an issue. The goal is to have the chair do the work for you. So when I sit and work, I am totally floppy and relaxed. The chair is holding me up, and I just sit here and I type like so. move every 20 minutes. You should feel like the chair is supporting you, and it's like you have 1,000 hands against your spine holding you up. And if you were to put your hand back here against your spine, you would feel that it's soft compared to when you're holding yourself in this position. And then principle number 3, which we've talked a lot about before, is posture related, regard to your neck. If you're doing principle number 2, principle number 3 is easy. Principle number 3 is ear over shoulder. You're stacked up, your spine is stacked. How do you know if you're there? Little small chin tuck. You'll notice my neck didn't move very much, and I'm in the right spot, I can relax. If I'm working away and I go, oh, Dr. Alex told me to do a little check, I do a chin tuck, and I notice my neck moves a long way, that's a reminder that I'm out of position and that I need to get that ear stacked up over the shoulders, nice healthy spine. To take one step back, we've got principle number 1, move every 20-30 minutes. Principle number 2, back up against the chair. How do you know if your back's against the chair? Well, we talked about between the we're going to talk about between the shoulder blades. You should feel the chair there. As you start to lose that contact, that is your cue. Between the shoulder blades not touching the chair, I need to bring myself back. And then principle number 3, ears over shoulder. Ear is always over shoulder. Keep your neck and your spine safe. So, if you're doing those 3 things, you can get away with having a less than optimal ideal setup potentially. For me, this chair, it's kind of medium. I would give it like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 7. When I first bought it, I was super worried because the first week I used it, my back was killing me, and I was like, oh God, I made this bad decision, I'm gonna have to try and return it in the time of COVID. Gave it a little bit of time, and for one reason or another, after a week of getting used to it, it feels good. I love this chair, it's fantastic. But I wouldn't be able to get away with it if I had an office job. If I had to type all day, every day, if I spent a lot of time on my computer. I typically will spend 1 to 3 hours max on on a stretch of an office day doing work here. I move frequently, I follow the principles that we talked about. I can get away with a less than optimal chair because I'm doing those things. If you are a computer programmer, if you are at a desk for 6 to 8, 10 hours a day, you might need something that gives you a little bit more support. And what I mean is the chair has to support you in this position. You don't want to have any gaps like I have potentially down here. And you probably also want some armrests so that your shoulders are completely soft and that T-Rex style, the keyboard would just naturally sit here and I can look straight ahead at my monitor. I'm basically just a blob in my chair until I move every 20-30 minutes. And so this is the difference between the, how do you say it? Langfujal and the Herman Miller Aeron or any expensive chair. The more you spend on a chair, the more customizable it typically is. It has more knobs, more dials. You can suit it more to your body. So, a couple of things that might need more dialing or more expensive. If you are spending more time at your desk, you're going to have less room for air. You might need, and less room for air, there's going to be more cumulative static strain. More cumulative static strain means the chair has to be that much more perfect. That's number 1. Number 2, if you're not following the 3 principles, you're going to want a really good chair. And number 3, if you're not the average size male or female, like 5'8", 6 foot, who the chair is kind of designed for, if you're a petite person or a really large person, that's where the customizability could be really important. So let's say you're a 5'2" female. It's going to be very tough for this chair to get back in this position, to have your feet touching the ground, or even the fact that the seat pan might be too deep that your knees like just a butt up against the chair. This chair might not work for you. You might need something more customizable to your body. So that's something that I would think about when I'm buying a chair. If you are doing a really, really good job of doing the 3 principles, you're an average sized person, whatever that means, 5'8", 6 foot, in that range. And maybe you have a standing desk as well where you're not sitting for too long, you can probably get away with this Ikea chair. As long as you go and you sit in an Ikea, or you have the possibility to return it after a week, and it feels relatively okay, you might want to try this chair if you don't want to spend a ton of money. But what I would recommend if you are buying a chair is think about those 3 things we talked about, look at how customizable the chair is, and then if you hit one of those, definitely one or definitely 2 of those 3 things that requires more customizability, then you're probably going to have to get something with lots of dials and knobs on it so that you can get it into the perfect position for you. The most optimal scenario is you go to a store, you sit in the chair, you have it kind of dialed as best you can in that position, and you just sit there, and if the glove fits, buy it. If it feels good, it's in your budget, I would go with it. It should feel like you are just sitting in a cloud and the chair is supporting you nicely. Arms are nice and soft, like a little T-Rex here. Keyboard would just sit right there. Back is totally supported. So my sister-in-law has a Herman Miller Aeron. It's much better than this chair. It feels awesome when you sit on it. The back support is much better. It's much more customizable. It is much more comfortable. But if that's not in your budget, or if you just think you don't need it, that's okay. You can probably get away without it, and you can probably do fine with just a regular old chair. The one thing I would consider when making a purchase is think about how much time you're going to spend in the chair, and think about the cost long-term to your health if you, say, don't make the investment up front. So if you develop a problem with your spine and or nervous system and you require seeing a chiropractor like me or somebody else, it could be a net loss in terms of the cumulative cost to try to regain the problems that the chair caused in the first place. So that's something that I would caution against and would at least give you food for thought and consideration. So, as a summary, the 3 things: ear over shoulder, back is held up nicely by the chair, move every 20 or 30 minutes. If you're doing those things and you are a somewhat regular sized person, you're doing a good job of following the 3 principles, and you don't spend an excessive amount of time at the desk, you can probably get away with something cheaper. But if you don't meet those, then it's a really good thing to make an investment in a good chair. What I will say is sometimes the knockoffs of those expensive brands can be really, really excellent. And the other thing I will say is I wouldn't even be talking about a chair if I had to work from home. I would get this and I would get a standing desk and I would stand for 50 to 80% of my day, because long term that's going to be maybe put a little more stress on the hamstrings and the low back, a little bit, but it's going to be so much better for your spine, I think your productivity, and much, much better for your neck. So after saying all that, get a standing desk. So guys, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, send me an email. I will be happy to help. Please don't send me an email asking for what specific chair I will buy, because I tried to give some principles today. Go try it, make sure it's adjustable if you need it, and I hope that works out for you. And if you find an amazing chair that you love, that I would love to hear about and hear the recommendations. So guys, be safe, take care. I hope you and your families are well, and we will chat soon. Bye.